Ladies and gentlemen, what is good? It is Monday night, June 23rd, so you know what that means. It is the Black Baseball Mixtape podcast. The crew is here. I'm so excited to connect, talk to everyone. We are fresh back off of our trip from Birmingham. Juneteenth East-West Classic at the legendary Wickwood Field. It is phenomenal. We got so much to talk about. Before I even bring the crew in, I got to take care of a little bit of housekeeping, which is the Black Baseball Mixtape is partnered with Steeler Sports, the Players Alliance, Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds, Number Game Scorecards, Red, Black, and Green Baseball, and Minority Prospects. Two of those have wonderful affiliate links, which is Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds. Put in the Black Baseball Mixtape code to get a discount, help support the show. Same thing with Number Game Scorecards. They are phenomenal scorecards. It's that time of year. You want to score every game. I know I wanted to score. I didn't have a chance to, but I wanted to score the East-West Classic. I had my Numbers Game scorecards there as well. So Black Baseball Mixtape is the access code. I am so excited. And I mean, absolutely so excited to have the crew here, especially tonight. Yeah. Floyd Boys.
What's going on there?
How are you feeling, my boy?
Well, I was just telling you before you went live, I had an interesting time on the way back from Birmingham, but other than that, it's cool, man. I'm feeling myself. It's my birthday week. I'm an old man officially. Just being able to start off with you guys means the world to me.
Fantastic. You and I both, we had some travel adventures. All three of us actually had some travel adventures, but we are back in the mother station tonight with everybody's logged in and we're really excited about it. All about April. How are you feeling?
Hey.
Call me World Series champion all about April. I feel great. Consider, my Dodgers won, LSU won. I'm just on a winning journey right now. So I feel great right now.
Fantastic. Shout out to the LSU Tigers. Phenomenal College World Series. I mean, the run was outstanding. You get to the championship series against a red-hot Coastal Carolina team, and you hit them with Cade Anderson and then Anthony Ianson back-to-back, and it works out amazing as Cade Anderson, an amazing complete game. I think 1-0 shutout with 10 Ks or something like that. Then Ianson 9 Ks in 6 1/3 before they turned it over to the bullpen. Michael Braswell, if you haven't heard the story already, the guy was getting standing ovations of support, by the way, by the end. It was bringing tears to people's eyes. Chris Stanfield making plays in center field. It was a fantastic tournament. I watched so much of this year's College World Series. I was excited for LSU. I was cheering for LSU, obviously, but there were some teams there. Louisville, quite some other teams as well, really, really exciting. So great series. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more, but it was fantastic. So good. Way to go, April. And you won your Rocco's Jello Shot Challenge.
Yeah.
Let's give it up for the real winner.
By just winning all the way around.
I'm just saying. 1,000 shots.
Yes. That's how we do. The Tiger way.
Malik, how are you feeling? Malik was the one person that wasn't with us in Birmingham, Alabama. So, Malik, how are you feeling? We miss you, my boy.
I feel mad about that, but go ahead.
Yeah, we're a little salty.
I know. I'm salty as well. Held it down in Houston for this hot Juneteenth weekend. The stove is getting real hot in baseball, too. It's getting real hot. We already saw Devers get traded. And so I feel like pretty soon we're going to see some interesting things happen. We're going to see some trades. I'm actually interested in all the drama, the beef that's been happening in the league. But it's been a good weekend.
Yeah, so you bring up a good point, Malik, because there's been so much beef. We've got so much to talk about. And one of the things not on the agenda is to talk about the bad blood that is taking place between the Dodgers and the Padres. Benches started clearing quite a bit over the weekend. I don't know if it was the heat. I don't know if it was the dog days, but the benches were starting to clear. It's that time of year, and if there was a predictable fight of all the bench clearing situations that happened, if there was one where we knew it was coming, it was that last game between the Dodgers and the Padres. We knew that was going to be a bench clearing situation.
We definitely knew that, especially like how Schilt can really get. We know he's a fiery guy. We know that Dave is not going to take no BS. But I would say that some of that beef is coming from, years and years of just playoff, angst. A few
Yes.
times the Dodgers have faced the Padres in the playoffs. I think they've had some real beef from the playoffs and beyond. And so we're going to see a little bit more of that this year. Tell us a little bit more about that, Abel, because I know you, as a Dodgers fan, has been following this to a T.
Let me also add, Mike Schilt was coaching the Cardinals when the Dodgers walked them off in 2021 with that Chris Taylor home run. So yes, those feelings are there. And I'm gonna be honest, like a lot of the times I look at Dave Roberts like, do something, get off that bench and do something. And I was so proud to see him get off that bench and do something. Cause I was like, this is not very characteristic of Dave Roberts, but I love it. Like, give me more. So yeah, throwing at players and stuff. I also think I love it. I think that this is good for baseball. We haven't had this kind of interaction between teams at this level in a long time. I like to see that level of passion develop on and off the field. Remind me of why I need to make sure I turn on my TV when y'all are playing.
There you have it. Well, look, there was a lot of passion between the Dodgers and the Padres. The Dodgers won 3 out of the 4 games. So again, I don't think it's a real rivalry until the Padres start winning meaningful games, and it hasn't started happening yet. The other one we'll talk about. We don't have to talk about it. We can gloss it over a little bit. But your boy out there in Houston, Hunter Brown, doesn't take any bets. Did you see the Hunter Brown Angel situation?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh! That
seemed personal. That seemed personal between him and I believe it was Zach Nato.
Mm-hmm. Did he throw at him too?
He hit him, but then they really were they were scuffling. Now the funny part is this one, they had the bench clearing, they had the scuffle. No one got ejected. No one. They went back out there. That was in the 3rd inning. They went out there and played the rest of the game.
Did you see our boy Christian Moore, the first one to approach Hunter Brown? Man, he must have said something.
But it was because Hunter Brown was just Hunter Brown wanted some smoke. And then they would just go back out there. And then Joe Adell hits a home run because Joe Adell's got 16 home runs.
Yeah, I told you he was going to turn it around.
And whoever had Joe Adell
he did.
Whoever had Joe Adell breakout season on the bingo card, congratulations.
Yeah, the bat speed is paying off for him. But definitely, I think,
we've got to have some type of waiting breakout player award. So at the end of the season, April, write this down. At the end of the season, we've got to have, and we're going to call it the Cal Lewis. We're going to call it the Cal Lewis Award. And then after this season, we'll name it for Joe Adell because Joe Adell probably is going to win it this year. But these are people that we have been waiting on for years to have a good season. And Joe Adell is finally having one.
Yeah, he's definitely crushing it. But just to comment on Neto, we all know that Neto hogs the plate, and that's how he's able to kind of turn in on some of those fastballs in his hands. Looking at the pitch going back, it seemed like Hunter was pitching inside. The sinker does run a lot. And so I think what Neto was really commenting on was the fact that he was hit last year by Hunter Brown.
Yeah, he goes, it was twice. He's instantly, he was it's twice. And Hunter Brown's yeah, you want smoke? Let's go. Hunter Brown, somebody was writing comments, and I did not know. I don't know. I was not familiar with Hunter Brown's get down. But they were Hunter Brown's from Detroit. Don't mess with him.
Yeah, don't play with him.
And he showed all of Detroit what he was all about in Houston. So, I'm going to start watching that closely because, you showed me something, Hunter Brown. But yeah, this time of year, there is, high intensity, man, high passion. And some of these teams are, they're not eliminated, but they damn near might as well be. And, they got a lot of baseball still left to play. So it's interesting to see who's really going to start going for it. We got a lot to talk about. A lot of topics to hit. We'll try our best to do so. If you are listening in the podcast audience, as always, we go live on Instagram. please leave a comment, ask your question in the comments. We'll try our best to answer. But we're going to start with our East-West Classic trip in Birmingham, Alabama. And in Flobo, you did us a really great service. And what I
Yes.
mean by that is you wrote an amazing article that is
Appreciate
on
you.
the Black Baseball Mixtape website right now. You can read it right now. And I think it did encompass how awesome the event was, but it also has some ways to improve the event. There's 3 ways to improve this second annual East-West Classic. And we're going to go through those because I think that's really something that we can all weigh in on, especially us that were in Birmingham and been to live events. And I'll just start with you because the article I thought was really, really good. I think is really good and really powerful, especially for people that have not been to Rickwood Field, have not been to the East-West Classic. That was your first time.
Yeah.
So what was
in town?
your,
Actually.
I'm going to start with you and ask, what was your impression of all things East-West Classic, and then kind of what motivated you to write the article to have 3 ways to improve this wonderful product?
I give a shout out to the Black Baseball Mixtape because, like, I like the fact that it challenges me to think about the solutions. Right? We always say, "Why isn't this the case? Why don't Black kids do this? Why don't we have more opportunities?" But when you go, "Okay, what's the next step?" I go, "Well, dang, I don't know." But this actual trip was good for me because first time in Birmingham, first time seeing a baseball game in the South. I mean, when I was in college, I went to Jacksonville Suns games. That's not really the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Just getting the idea of what the historically was, and it kind of was having MLB alums play and why it was important, and it was on Juneteenth. It really felt like it was a destination thing. But as we'll get into it, I really felt like, man, we're right there. That to being one of the featured series of the year. I know we have the Little League game, some of the World Tour stuff, but a Rickwood game or a Juneteenth game or East-West Classic game, I'm not sure which one they're going to double down on. It could really be good with some free changes and few upgrades,
I'm gonna keep going off of that, but I also wanted to bring in April because April, you'd mentioned, especially when we were leaving, that you were getting emotional, kind of taking all of this in. This was also, I believe, your first time at Rickwood. What was your kind of instant takeaways from being in that setting?
Yeah, I remember when we were literally on the field, I remember Cheats being like, "Hey, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." But in that moment, it was very, I don't know the word for it. And I think I told you I felt emotional because I'm literally standing on the same field that my people played on. So being in there, I don't know about y'all, but like I just felt something significant whenever you walked into the stadium. It's one thing whenever you're outside, you're taking the pictures, you're looking at the stuff, but walking literally on the field and being in those bleachers was a completely different feeling. And yes, it made me very emotional to know that people that I grew up, loved, and admired, especially because they weren't willing to be accepted by the norm. This was their stomping grounds, and it's literally the oldest baseball park in America right now. And then there was also a moment where I chuckled a bit because I was like, oh, I know this is our stadium because it's fully shaded. Like the majority of the park has shade,
You
and
did
y'all know we
mention that.
love
You
us some
did mention that.
shade, except for that little front portion. Because most baseball parks today, they don't have that. But that was, for the most part, fully shaded. And I also love the fact that MLB kept the integrity of the park, a lot of it. So being able to see it from the character and the build, that from a historical perspective, it definitely made me emotional to know that I was able to be present where my ancestors once made history and were able to develop and nurture their talents for a sport that I love.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think for me. This was the second, obviously, one I've been to. Last year was Cooperstown, and it was a different experience. It was obviously everything was inaugural, so we really did not know what to expect. Cooperstown is used to having a game. It was Memorial Day weekend. It was not Juneteenth. It was the Cooperstown is used to having a kind of old timers game, if you will, or an alumni game during Memorial Day weekend. They do it every year with a different theme. Last year because 2024 MLB was all things black all the time.
Mhm.
It was the black theme. They
So
did
long
the
ago.
East West Classic in tribute to the Negro Leagues, but it was a sold out stadium with people that were just used to like having legends come back all the time, and it was a bunch of honorary legends coming back, and I think they counted 16 Hall of Famers that came back for Memorial Day because they're used to going to Cooperstown on Memorial Day, and not playing and doing those types of things. The audience in Cooperstown, I will say, was majority white. They sold out the stadium, but it was majority white. They had a special exhibit at the Hall of Fame. I mean, it was a different, it was a different feel to the event from year one, and it wasn't good or bad. It was just different.
Mhm.
Year two, putting it on Juneteenth, putting it in Rickwood Field, it just felt like more our event having it in Birmingham, and more of a way to kind of truly honor the Negro League players, honor the history of Black baseball. It was just much more us, and I do feel, and we'll talk about this a little bit, some of the stuff that happened was out of our control, like the
Mhm.
monsoon that comes in earlier in the day. I think some of this stuff was out of our control, but the stuff that was controllable, I think was really really well done. And I do think, knowing what we know now, there are ways that we can build upon it, give suggestions to make it better and solidify it. Flobo, you've got three really key reasons. I'm going to start with the one that I would say, which I think may already be in place, but I think you guys tell me if it's different. So year one was Cooperstown. I think it was a great experience, but it was a different experience. Year two was Birmingham. I really, really appreciated that setting. What I would say is codify the East West Classic from now moving forward for the legendary Rickwood Field, Birmingham, Alabama, and it's codified on Juneteenth every year. That's what I like. Jackie Robinson Day for MLB. I feel like Juneteenth, the appropriate thing to do for Major League Baseball every year, is to have an East West Classic game at Rickwood Field. That's my suggestion number one.
I like it. Juneteenth moves every year, but I like it.
Right. Right. And then I think if you codify that, I think it helps Flobo with your 3 points
Right.
that you wanted to make. And point one for you was aesthetics, right? Like it was like lean into the old school Sunday
Mm.
best dress. Tell us
Yes.
about it.
Yeah,
Yes.
so one of the interesting things about hearing the stories about how that was is like back in the mid-century, white or black, if you went to a game, you dressed up to see a game.
Mhm.
And I said, I wouldn't want to have like a dress code on the door, right? Because it's supposed to be all inclusive. If someone doesn't have a suit, they shouldn't be able to not be able to go. But when I think about modern sports events that embrace the fashion side of it, like the Kentucky Derby, that can bring a whole different vibe to things. You know, the thing about history is, and I actually mentioned this in the article, it's very, very important. But for future generations, it could be very stodgy if someone's like, gather around, let me tell you why this is important. But if you go into an experience and everyone's dressing up the way they did 50 years ago, and they say what, and you have categories that like would underscore those who are more dressed accurately, what that meant for families to come after church, then maybe someone could say, I want to know more about this and have them look for that organically.
I love it. I love it. April, would you, Malik, what do you guys think about leaning into the dress, if you will, the Sunday best dress of an East West Classic game?
My only comment is that it can get a little hot.
That's how I was going.
It can get a little
We
hot.
got shade though, Malik. We got shade.
We have shade. We have shade. I do think that is a really good point. There was a time in which people will come to the games, and then you see it in old videos. You see it on some of the historical baseball videos where folks are out there in their Sunday best. They're wearing, suits. Some of them were wearing like hats, dresses, frills, everything, to the nine. And I think it would bring an aura to the game that we haven't felt probably in our lifetime ever. All I know about baseball games is rowdiness. So it would be a nice vibe to kind of bring to the ballpark, especially us being black and beautiful as we are. So that would really be a nice picture and a great photo op, I'd say too.
I was with you whenever he said that, but I was like, man, it's gonna be hot, them suits,
Yeah,
summertime.
yeah.
Woo! And
We
Alabama.
good fans. We good
women,
fans.
whenever we want to dress up, the women also want to wear heels. So I don't know about that particular part,
What
but
about
I'm,
hats?
huh?
What about hat?
Listen, yeah, I'll wear my fancy hat because the lady is gonna be showing off for Cowboy Carter this weekend. So I
Yep.
know that they'll be able to dress up for something like that. But I would
Love it.
even say have an either or type of thing where you dress up. I really liked seeing people with the East West jerseys or with the like I saw people with the Josh Gibson or Satchel Paige jerseys out there, and I love seeing that too. So I think the dedication could be, dress up as your favorite Negro baseball player of the past. I think either of those would give the feel of the event. But yeah, I mean, because we talked. I hope I'm not moving ahead of myself. Them selling shirts representative of the event, maybe prior to as well. We know it's gonna come up, so you put that online. Like, I'd be happy to buy a shirt representative of that too.
Hmm.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
No, so I like all of this, and I do like what you're saying with the categories. So again, here's the thing: society-wise, has changed, and what I mean by that is, I go to church every Sunday. Our church is dressed as you are. When I was a kid, you would not dare dress as you are when you go to church. I just feel as if nothing in society is like. I think you have to make it a contest, right? So you
Yes.
have to make like a Sunday best contest. You can, I think, add categories to that, or kids get in free if they wear, Negro League jerseys, or anybody that wears
Right.
a Negro League jersey gets in free. So you can show off your best jersey. You can show off like a Sunday best category. I do like the idea of having that part element of the game just
Mhm.
for one time out of the year. I don't care how hot it is, because April, or somebody said, no, you said in the article, Flobo,
Hmm.
nobody Kentucky Derby, it's hot.
Right. You're
Yeah.
right.
And they still gonna dress up in their hats and their suits and their mint juleps, and they're gonna keep that tradition. They're gonna dress up in their mint juleps.
Okay.
They're gonna
Plain
keep the tradition of the Kentucky
Yeah.
Derby there. If
Mhm.
you start the tradition of doing this for the East West Classic, people will be gatekeepers of that tradition. I see it every year with the CIAA,
yes.
CIAA Classic and things of that nature, where people do want to have that element of looking really nice for the game. I'm sorry, April, you were gonna say something?
No, that's perfect because one of the things that we've been talking about is how do we get people to go to the games? And y'all know one thing that we like to do, especially, is show out.
Yep.
So you have an opportunity for people to be able to show out. Oh, people are going to be breaking their backs to be able to get into that building to be a part of something
Mhm.
that is so just a moment
Yep.
where they can share it on social media, they can say that they were there, and in the same aspect they get to literally participate in an event for baseball. So
I love it. I love it. Let's move on to point number two, because you were getting there.
Yeah.
Um, Flobo, point number two, I like this a lot as well, because I do like you. You had mentioned other events that you've gone to and how basically the entire city is activated with activations in different elements outside of the stadium. You might go to a museum 2 blocks away and see this. You could go, obviously, in Birmingham. There's the Negro Leagues, the Negro Southern League Museum, I believe it is, a
Hmm.
couple blocks away. There's all of these things. So you built it as kind of a citywide takeover with like a bunch of activations and installations and things that could have happened around the game, and you kinned it to one of things that's something near and dear to our heart, which is WrestleMania. Like when
Right.
WrestleMania comes to town for a weekend, or
A week
SummerSlam or
now.
whatever it
Yeah.
is, it's like there's all of these things happening around the city that points to the game, and so
Mhm.
you feel like there's an element of a citywide takeover that could help the East West Classic. Please elaborate.
I think this one came. We were all in the little, I guess, museum section that was a merch stand,
Mhm.
and we're like, man, we could have more merch. And
Yeah.
I guess, and we kind of like try to make excuses. Well, it was kind of a quick game, and I go, no, WWE has a Fanatics contract, and you can buy merch on the day you get it. It says the date and where you are, and I go, yeah, there should be more things. Birmingham is an interestingly sized city, so it isn't huge where people go there all the time, but it's not super small like Cooperstown where it becomes like a journey. So it takes some effort to get there. And so there was a group of us who traveled into town, ourselves included, with nothing really much to do. We had to make our own hay. And I understand budgets are a big thing. You can't have like nightclubs taking over the entire cities. But if there was a festival with local artists, if there was like a pop up museum experience, if there was like a merch superstore, things like that, where I can buy stuff in the moment, then take it home and go, oh, y'all wasn't up on this. Look what I got. I mean, that's what I want. I want to brag to people.
And if there was a thing like, say, a live podcast featuring guests from the East West Classic with a live audience,
I like
hey,
that.
look, we might have thought of that, but we're working on it. What do you think, Malik and April, as well? I feel like this is, if the game gets big enough, things around the game could possibly happen. But I also think that it could be in reverse. Like, you build things around the game to draw buzz to the actual game.
Mhm.
And I think that, again, for lack of a better term, there wasn't much happening
Mhm.
around the East West Classic for the community per se. There was supposed to be a field dedication. Unfortunately, that got rained out the morning of the game. The game obviously got delayed several hours because of the rain. So, but we were there on Wednesday, and there was nothing kind of around Wednesday. There wasn't a lot of kind of activation or signage that says Rickwood Field, big game here. And I do think that there's an opportunity, if you will, to build things around the East West Classic. What do you guys think?
I
Go
would.
ahead, April.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, I know for us, we were looking for food places. I think it would be nice to have a list of like Black-owned food places that exist within Birmingham, where we can go and support and let them know ahead of time so that they can have the food and preparations ready for us whenever we do come in and travel. I also loved how parts of the museum, we were in there and we were taking pictures. There was a little section where they had the grays where you can kind of take pictures with those either. I think it would be great if they created a little bit more of those around the stadium and just have like people like put their heads in it as if they were the Negro players. So just things like
The
that.
uniform, you can wear the uniforms of the players.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sticky and do stuff like that. I think all of that just gives it a participatory feeling as you're there, but definitely the food places, because everybody is always looking for how they can support people whenever they leave their towns and go into another. So I don't know, like y'all know I'm a foodie. I'm always ready to eat. So
You
I'm
said that in Birmingham, but I
We
wasn't so
learned this
sure.
in Birmingham. The foodie light, ladies and gentlemen. The
Foodie
foodie
light.
light.
Foodie adjacent.
I'm willing to be on that committee, by the way. But yeah, those are some things that I think would also attract people to the area, because you have to think Bayou Classic, they have events and things like that set up so people know how to be able, the city knows how to be able to prepare for those kinds of crowds too.
I like it. I like it. Malik, you've obviously been around events that have, kind of aspects that are all around the city. I can only think that it would make it better, right? It only enhance the product if you're able to activate the city around the game.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And it might be a good way to get people access to the game in person, in if people are able to also support the game in a way in which they might not even show up to the game. Like you're saying, like have certain events around the city that kind of draw attention to the game and draw attention to the history at least. And so I think what it's going to take really is maybe even more investment in the MLB investing in this event even more. Likely they would have to connect with even more community partners and get a lot of the community's buy-in. And that's always easier said than done if we obviously, getting people to kind of agree on like what's going to be the best way to go about things. But I think it is possible. I think it should, like you said, be in Birmingham and just continue to be there so that they can keep the heritage alive, and it can actually build itself up to be a great event. And so I think the first thing would be just connecting with the community even more, and whichever way they do that, happy to support it.
And I think the easiest way to get that commitment is to commit to having it every year in Birmingham at Rickwood.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
if you go to the city, go to the mayor who was at the game. I met the mayor. If you go to the mayor of Birmingham and say, "Hey, we're committed here every year for Birmingham for this thing. Let's start now to build around it." Because another thing that I think would be really helpful is you don't need to have all the players there in advance, but if you could get some of the marquee players that are going to play in the game there, say 72 or 48 hours earlier, then you could have them do some appearances with kids at certain places, get those kids and families and those little leagues excited to come to the game and be a part of it. So you need a little bit more of like an ambassador that would be there earlier, to do some appearances and PR and get people excited and have them come to the game. But I think all of that could be part, Flobo, of that citywide takeover that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as it seems like it's authentic and helps out the communities, I do think there is something for those who travel into town for something to do.
Right.
Last part of this wonderful article, and make sure all of you read it on the blackbaseballmixtape.com.
Please do.
Flobo's Flow, let the kids play. You have a suggestion. This might be the only one where I'm like, this one's a stretch for me personally.
Yeah.
But I want to hear you out on it.
Okay.
You want more people involved in the actual game.
Right.
Like, so you've got the MLB alumni there. You've got the Curtis Grandersons, the Ryan Howards, the CC Sabathias, and you want more local player involvement. Explain this to me.
So I call this one the Willie Mays picks. And the reason I say that is because the legend goes, when Willie Mays was 17, he played for the Birmingham Black Barons, but he was still in school. And so he only played the home games because he had to focus on studies. And I'm watching the game this year, and we had so many cool people play. But at the same time, if you think about the projections of how the numbers of Black players have diminished, that might be a problem 5 to 10 years from now when the current crop of legends cannot play. And so I was watching the game going, man, you can't have CC Sabathia out here in his 50s, as he wants to, showing on the mound. Like, why don't we have an opportunity for maybe young Black players to play alongside of some of the alums? Imagine if you got called up and said, hey, man, CC's done. The ball's yours. That would change your life. And be able to say, hey, look, when I was 15, 16 years old, I played next to Dylan Betances. I played next to Nick Swisher. I played next to Little Sprints. And so I said every squad, the East or West side, should have like a Willie Mays pick, 1 or 2 players who are young. I'm not sure the high school level or the college level or the collegiate level. I'm not sure that works, or a drafted level to play alongside the alums for the game to flesh out some of the rosters.
All right. I'm hearing it. It would have to be a really special player. With they would have to do some type of essay, right? No, seriously.
All right, put them to work. Put them to work.
I'm serious. I am dead serious. They would have to be, I want to say, an outstanding player with community service hours and some type of this would have to be a scholarship type winning award to say you are the Willie Mays. You've done all the requirements to be in a Willie Mays and selected by a panel of maybe former players that are playing in the game to say, we want this person, and we want this person. Because I would want it to be not just an excellent ball player, but I'd want it to be a compelling story. And we'd have to understand that story. That person, maybe they can be nominated through the community or something of that nature, and you give one player on each, one Willie Mays scholar on the West and one on the East, and just kind of let that one of the reasons why I was skeptical when I was reading it originally is because there are so many players you wouldn't imagine. You might would, but you wouldn't imagine, even for someone that is me on the Black Baseball Mixtape side of this.
Okay.
How many players were I didn't get invited.
Yeah.
I played last year. I didn't play this year. I was I don't know. I ain't got nothing to do with it.
Right.
But so I don't think the cover.
You get mad at a kid though? Would you get mad at a 16-year-old? Oh, these dang youth taking my spot, kid.
I'm not saying that, but I'm also saying There's a lot of meat on the bone in regards to players that would play in this game.
Fair enough.
Right? And we already talked about it. It's only a 2-hour game, 5 or 7 innings, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, how do we? I do like the idea of recognizing local talent, especially local talent with a compelling story. Like, I think that's great. I just don't want to overdo it. I don't want like some 16-year-old kid hitting Ryan Howard in the back. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just saying. I get it, but I feel like April, you're making faces. I feel like we have to have some restraints on this.
Apparently,
no, like when we were at the game, and I was having one of my moments, I was telling them I really would love to see Bo Jackson and
Frank
Thomas be at the games because I feel like we're in this historic ballpark. It's the East West Classic. When you ask people who watched baseball in the 90s, 2000s, who were their favorite players, those are players that they're going to mention. We already know Ken Griffey. I was so happy to, y'all, I was so happy to see Gary Sheffield at the game. They could tell you that. Those were like just amazing parts. So the local talent, I can see picking one for each side, but I really want to, yeah, I really want us to lean into giving the players who have contributed to us growing and developing this sport their flowers while they are here, and them seeing exactly how much people love them and fans wanting to come out to be able to see them. And I think that would also be a great way as time passes for you to have those things, because even Dusty Baker was there, and y'all, you were not getting, the line was long. Okay, the Dusty Baker line was long to get an interview with him or a picture. So that just goes to show you how legendary those people are, and how people, they do look and want to have those moments with them as well. So yeah, that would be my restriction. Maybe one for East, maybe one for West, but have more of a focus on the players who help to ultimately develop the sport. Because can you imagine Bo Jackson being out there?
I don't think he's gonna play. That's the thing. He'd be there.
I don't even need him to play. I just need him to be present.
Yeah, I think he could play. I don't think he would. Quick question for you, Flobo, and I'm interested in your answer.
Okay.
Last year in Cooperstown, Monet Davis played in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think is that warranted? Does that meet the requirements that you're talking about, or is that not a local kid? You know what I mean? Playing. What do you think about because Monet Davis obviously was not a, former African American major league player, but she has a celebrity status. What did you think? What do you think of that?
So I say Willie Mays picked because it was a Birmingham thing, but I don't necessarily, the person doesn't have to be from Birmingham at all. And I think Monet Davis was a perfect pick for that for last year. I was just thinking the idea of having a future star alongside the alums, and yeah, if it was a contest on social, on YouTube or something, they could really make that something important over a couple of months. But yeah, I think someone that's young who could potentially do something better or bigger in their career would be perfect for this.
What do you think, Malik?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. And like, honestly, with the game being as short as it is, having that moment where that player can get his shine next to other players. I think we talked about it at going to the Cactus Jack Classic. April mentioned it in a previous podcast, how some of these young players who play for HBCUs, that might be the very first time they even step on a baseball field, an MLB baseball field, let alone even being in proximity to baseball players and being able to be in their presence. I think it would be a great opportunity for those young players to kind of like experience that event. And like Flobo was saying, carry on the heritage, and like April was saying, recognizing some of the Black players that are there and have, laid the groundwork for us.
Well, I think all of the suggestions are really, really good. Flobo, you did an amazing job with this article. Sure. Make sure everybody that has checked it out, that needs to check it out, please go to blackbaseballmixtape.com. Check it out. Let us know your suggestions or your feedback in the comments. Just to put a bow on our experience at Rickwood Field, I mean, the actual we given all of the pushbacks and delays, we actually had to leave the game early. We did not see the end of the game. We were there for the beginning. We did see the home run derby. We did get to kind of go around the legendary Rickwood Field. But I would argue, and I would say, the best part of the entire trip was being able to spend time with Flobo and April in person and hang out,
Finally.
talk a lot of shop.
First time.
Shout out to Dana as well, who came out and had dinner with us as well, and all the people that we saw in Birmingham at Rickwood Field. It was just great. Shout out to the O-Dogs. We were able to see a youth baseball team that was familiar with the platform, and a bunch of people that were just awesome. So shout out to Mr. Williams over at the museum. It was a phenomenal time. And again, a little bit of rain, a little bit of weather pushed things back, but could not damper the spirit of the game. And it was really fun to see, CC pitching. CC did not pitch last year, by the way. So CC Sabathia pitched. Edwin Jackson pitched. Got to see some of our guys, D Strange Gordon and his little man's. It was cool. It was like a family affair out there. So I hope that it stays in Birmingham on Juneteenth for the foreseeable future. Shout out to everybody at MLB as well. Our girl Abby hooked us up, and all of the folks there to make it happen. So I thought it was great. Only thing I can say is I've been to 2, can't wait to go to 3, in more of those games in the future. So it's an exciting time. With that said, let's turn the page. Flobo, that was your big thing. We are going to turn the page to April. April, you've got some Major League Baseball talk about a team and a franchise that is, let's just say, struggling, not just on the field, but there's a little bit of PR. April, take it away with the latest that is happening with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Okay, I had my note sheet. I was making sure I didn't forget anything.
Oh, no.
But yes, for those of you who missed it, Dennis Santana received a 4-game suspension for handling business on a fan in the stands. Now, this was a part of the second game doubleheader versus the Tigers. And from what I understand, the fan actually had a Tigers hat on with a shirt honoring the late and great Roberto Clemente. And for those of you who aren't aware, this is a Pirates reliever. And as you know, the Pirates have had a lot of stuff going on this particular year. But after the whole incident happened, Dennis Santana was asked exactly what the fan said, and he's like, he wouldn't repeat it. But he did have a bit of regret. He said he understood that he needed to be a bit more professional. He has appealed the suspension, so of course he's allowed to play until all the findings are done. But after I saw this, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, because I'm like, I know the player said something crazy for him to go to that level. There has to be the fan interaction with players. I'm not saying he was right. The fan interaction with players has gotten to a point where, to me, it's a bit unhealthy. And so we've seen it already with Jarren Duran. We've seen it with the player grabbing Mookie Betts last year. And I just kind of want to know y'all's thoughts as well. How far is it going to go? Because yes, fans are going to say crazy things, but I also believe that social media has given people a lot of power to say and do things, and that ultimately can impact people in games. So, yeah. What do y'all think?
Who wants to go first?
That fan is lucky he didn't get his ass beat. There's a reason every park has a fan code of conduct for a reason. You tap on a glass at a zoo, not saying players are animals, but if you do that, you have to get the consequences. What are we doing? It's 2025. You think it's going to be cool with your buddies to be like, I'm going to tell this guy he sucks? Come on. Like, what are we doing this for? And that's the reason why you can't get on the field. That's the reason why seats are further up. That's the reason why ticket prices are high, because of stuff like this. It's wasting our time. And I don't know about suspensions. I get it. You got to do something if you're MLB. You really can't open up the asylum that people say what they want. But to me, free my man. He did nothing wrong.
Hey, can I just say that Dennis is kind of balling right now? He's dealing. I'm not going to lie.
With those shorts. With the
yeah,
shorts.
hopefully, let's hope. Let's hope that this may be his last year as a Pittsburgh Pirate. Right now, he has
doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
if he's stealing or not.
So
he
I
might
feel
get
like
down to the deadline. You don't know.
He's pitching for something. He's not pitching for Pirates wins.
Amen.
no, he is not. He is pitching to get out. And so I think right now we see a situation where, like you mentioned, April, there's been a lot of unhealthy fan interaction with players. And even outside of the ballpark, we're talking about even online, where we're having players that are being threatened, their children are being threatened. And so there's a lot of factors into this. But this particular situation can also be kind of traced back to some of those frustrations I think that the Pirates are going through as an organization. But like you see how the fan was able to kind of have that much access to Dennis, which is not really warranted. I'm not really for glassing us off from, the players. I want us to be able to be that close, but we got to have some decorum.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Two things can be true at the same time. And what I mean by that is there is a code of conduct, Flobo, you're exactly right. And fans have to uphold their end of the bargain, right? Fans are there to cheer, support. Some may be there to heckle or whatever, but there's got to be a line of demarcation, right? There's got to be a line of conduct in which if you cross this line, security is going to, need to be called and people are going to need to be removed and so forth. So I do think there's got to be a level of decorum. Baseball's a long game in many ways, and they serve a lot of alcohol at baseball games. And what I mean by that is because this has been there since the beginning of time, you do have to not only have enough officials there to police some of the fans, and fans are obviously going to need to police themselves as well. And a lot of sections, the cool thing about baseball sections, the ones that get it right, is they police themselves in many ways. If there's a fan that's completely out of hand, that section will start being like, hey, look, because there are kids there, it's a family situation as well. You can't just go out of hand. I say all that to say fans have to be responsible. Players also, they can't be they should have the right and the ability to call someone out, to have someone removed, to tell security that this person is out of hand and so forth. It can't just take matters in their own hands. Pittsburgh has a history right now. The Pittsburgh Pirates have a handful of players. I'm looking at you, Tommy Pham, who just had a fan removed the other day as well. Right. They've got a handful of players that I would not call them sensitive. I think they're warranted, but they are very active in regards to their quote unquote chirping and interacting with the fans. All that does is egg on unruly fans. So the fans are doing things to get reactions out of players. And if you give them reactions or egg them on for innings without basically saying, hey, that person needs to be removed, that person's out of hand. I'm not saying what happened in the Dennis Santana situation. I just know because I've watched a lot of games. The Pirates have a handful of players that are interacting with the fans often. And a lot of the chirping and back and forth is not that great. Not that great.
Which players are you referring to other than like Pham? I mean, do you see like Reynolds out there in right field as Nick Gonzalez didn't like yelling? I mean, Adam Frazier. I mean, he's a vet. What's going on?
The Pirates have a couple. Have a couple. Now, with that said, I also want to acknowledge the absolute disaster the Pirates have been from a PR standpoint in 2025.
Disaster.
This is a masterclass of bad PR. Let's start with the Roberto Clemente sign. At the beginning of the season, and they changed it for some type of spritzer beer sign or whatever it was.
It was a vodka spritzer, yeah.
Not thinking the fans would care. Then they had to replace that in a couple days. Not to mention that apparently it was very clear that the fan was overserved that fell from the second story of the outfield. And I think he's still recovering in the hospital. I think he might be out of the hospital now, but he's still recovering. Not to mention clearly a drunk or deranged fan that fought the brother. Now, again, it made one of the best bobbleheads of all time, but that was also Pittsburgh, where the attendant, the bloody shirt, is fighting the racist, drunk, mentally disturbed fan there. What's that?
That's true. I forgot about that.
Pittsburgh. This is all Pittsburgh in 2025. Now again, fast forward to this incident with Santana. Fast forward past that, I think, because now the story is about Andrew McCutchen and what he heard from officials and if the balls are juiced or not. All of this is happening in Pittsburgh in 2025.
And don't forget, fired the manager.
Fire the manager, and not to mention the Pirates are 31-48 and 16 games out of the NL Central. So, I'm just saying Pittsburgh is a disaster. Pittsburgh is now, again, fans need to behave themselves, and apparently fans in Pittsburgh can't do that.
Now, I will also say this in regards to fans. I don't know about y'all, but I have a very serious feel of uneasiness with fans as of lately. And it's giving me, I said this on Threads the other day, it's giving me 90s tennis Monica Seles vibes. Do I remember when the crazy fan went on the court and stabbed her? I feel like we're getting to a point where fans are becoming that unhinged. I'm not, God forbid, something like that happening. But the fact that they feel entitled to players, like they don't owe you anything, they don't owe you a response, and you are not entitled to that in regards to them. I just feel like players should be more protected from the way that these fans have been interacting with them.
Do you feel like the fans are responding to the Pirates fans, since we're talking about Pirates fans? Mm-hmm. Are you think that this is like a death ghost flying through like Pirates camp, and fans like are just feeling like this? Are they possessed? Is there something going on with just that many years of losing? If you lose for that many years, your owner's named Bob Nutting, and he doesn't care about developing players.
Hey.
He gets the best picks every year, and they all want to leave. They have elite prospects, and they're not developing well. Brian Hayes had his own hitting coach fired. Do you think, and I'm asking everyone here, do you think that there's something going on with the fans because of the play, or is this like kind of like a league-wide thing? Because it's been Pirates fans.
So I actually have the answer to that, and the answer is both. So what's going on? Here's the gasoline, is that things are costing a lot of more money. Small towns are feeling the crunch because the jobs aren't there. So when they put money aside and go to a game, they think they deserve more. Same with the restaurants, same with the amusement parks. But the flame is that they got these picks. I'm looking at Paul Skeens right now. He can't do no more. And that team is as pathetic as it was 2 seasons ago. And so if it wasn't for this show right now, I probably would have forgot how bad it was, because the Rockies are even worse records-wise. But you're right. It's only a matter of time before it gets worse.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a combination of things that aren't mutually exclusive to Pittsburgh, right? I think Pittsburgh has a litany of public examples that are disastrous. But I also think fans are, for whatever reason, I think it's 2 things that play a factor into this. Or more than 2 things, but 2 things that stand out more. Social media and their connectivity to, kind of their players, not even their proximity, but their connectivity. They feel like they're more connected to these players, and they feel like they're more entitled, and there's more like, I can say what I want, hiding behind the safety of my internet. And if I go to the game, I can yell whatever I want, hiding behind. I think it's a little bit of that. And don't forget this. There's a real advent of sports betting that all these major sports, including baseball, has allowed to really get into the fabric of the game in 2025, more so than any other time. So, right. So not only do you feel a little bit more bolstered and entitled through this kind of social media wave of doing whatever you want, saying whatever you want, not having a lot of consequences about it, there's also some people putting a lot of money on these players to get their 2 hits or to get their stolen base. And baseball is a game where you get to watch it and consume it and drink a lot of alcohol. And there's a situation where maybe by the 6th inning, if Key Bryant Hayes ain't got that stolen base, you might be out a couple $100. So you're going to take that more personally. These players will tell you today, they get a lot of comments about, oh, you ruined my fantasy team, or I had, draft picks on you. And a lot of they don't care. They're not playing for you to make money off them getting a bunt, sacrifice bunt. But a lot of folks don't really put 2 and 2 into perspective. And so I just think that all of this adds up to a perfect storm of kind of poor interaction. I will couple that by saying if your organization doesn't kind of enforce the code of conduct and doesn't have good PR communications folks, then you're dealing with all of this and you're looking real bad. And I think the Pirates look real bad.
They look awful. And they look awful. Hopefully things turn around, but I think that's only going to happen with a, ownership change. But that's with every situation we're upset with in the MLB. But hopefully things change for at least for some of the players. That's all I really kind of am concerned about.
So here's the thing. Last thing we'll talk about the Pirates here. We are coming up on the trade deadline, as you mentioned. Some players that are obviously, I do not think they're going to touch Paul Skeens at all, and they should not, I guess. But Andrew McCutchen, O'Neal Cruz, Key Bryant Hayes, Brian Reynolds, a lot of prospects in that organization. Tamar Johnson is one of them that we watch closely. Do the Pirates? I mean, they're not buyers. Should they be selling off right now or no?
It's like we know what the Pirates should be doing, but are they going to do anything with what they do? And I know that's a very, very confusing statement because from my perspective, of course, they should look into, asking prices on O'Neal Cruz. He's probably the most valuable has ever been as a center fielder right now. Of course.
Speaking of which, though, it's also responsible for one of the most awful plays I saw last week in all of baseball. That was a horrible look for O'Neal Cruz, or again, that's just bad baseball.
Oh, absolutely. He's going to do that. He's going to do that often. But I think that people want that. They want that bat. I think Brian Reynolds is a trade chip. But even if they do trade these guys, what are they going to do? Get like more prospects and stall them out in AA and AAA? And so we know what they can do, but I'm just really concerned about their infrastructure and the value that they will receive with these trades, because these are valuable players. But the pieces that they would sell are probably like the low-hanging fruit, the Adam Frazier's, the Tommy Phams, some of the guys that are on 1 years. But I don't know if they should, because I don't know if they're going to do anything with it.
Flobo, did you see, also just really quickly, Bubba Chandler is a pitcher. I believe he's getting called up, but he's in AAA right now. Connor Griffin, 19-year-old first-round draft pick from last season. Tamar Johnson, who we mentioned. Nick Yorkie, is he still a prospect? These are all in the Pirates organization, so good luck.
Great players.
Last thing I'll say on this is, Flobo, did you see an interview? I believe it was earlier this week. It could have been as recently as yesterday, where Tommy Pham, your boy,
my boy,
said he's been struggling this season because of his eye disease and his contact not being right. He says that he believes he got multiple RBIs in yesterday's game, and he actually said, now that we've got this right, you'll start to see me hit the ball better and start to even see some more home runs. He hadn't hit a home run all season. He hit a home run today. Yeah. And so I don't know what – I mean, obviously we've talked about this on the show about his diagnosis and his kind of eye issues. He's always had contacts, but I did not know that he was struggling. I don't know if this was ever public, that he was struggling to get his contact prescription correct. And he's been playing, I guess, up until June 23rd or June 22nd with contacts that did not allow him to see the ball.
Yeah, I did not read the article or hear the interview, but his eye disease is degenerative. So it gets worse every couple of months and has to get thicker and thicker and more extreme things. So that does happen. And so, no, I didn't know about that interview, but the numbers were definitely showing something was wrong. And of course, when you get to be post 32, we think, oh, he's old. But, I believe in Tommy Pham. I knew something else was there.
He hit a home run today, and he is saying, so if he is a sell piece at the trade deadline, it could be one of those things where the Tommy Pham you get isn't the Tommy Pham the Pirates have had.
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's happened before with him, too, where he's had to make adjustments to, his vision. So it's possible.
It's Corrado Conus is his degrees.
Yes. Not too much on plus 32 now.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Baseball,
you know how it is in baseball. You start doing
ladies and gentlemen, Before we go further, I also want to continue to thank our partners, Steelers Sports, the Players Alliance, Numbers Game Scorecards, Rebellion Harvest, Red, Black, and Green Baseball, and Minority Prospects. Malik, you have the last of our round robin on the Monday podcast crew, and we're going to talk about tools. Indeed, we're going to talk about single tools because there are some players turning heads in Major League Baseball, but they may not have the 5 tools that we all traditionally hear when we talk about a 5-tool player. One of those guys that are standing out to you is Denzel Clark. Let me know what you're thinking, Malik.
Yeah, so the 5 tools of baseball is hitting for power, hitting for average, ability to throw, the ability to run, and of course fielding. And I feel like fielding has always been the one that we really don't pay the most attention to until there's like a highlight play involved. But if I were to tell you that there is a major league player that has a 2% walk rate and a almost 50% strikeout rate and is playing every day because of their defense, a lot of people would think that's just like a catcher. They would think that's just Austin Hedges, right? But it's actually a center fielder in the name of Denzel Clark, and he is pretty much breaking baseball with how good his defense has been in the last few games he's been up. Now, when he got called up, I was really surprised because I'm like, okay, this guy is barely just cracked out of Double-A. He was pretty good in Triple-A, but not like breaking, the bank in Triple-A for the environment he was playing in. And so I'm like, why are they calling up Denzel Clark? And it's because of that glove. What you noticed in Oakland, actually not Oakland, sorry, West Sacramento.
Not
even regular Sacramento.
Had to rewind that. In West Sacramento, the ball is flying and the summer has begun. And so the ball's going to fly even more. All of those pitchers in Sacramento are getting shellacked this season. And if you're watching any A's baseball, you're going to see a lot of high scoring games. And they're going to need a guy out there that can catch the ball between the right fielder, Lawrence Butler, who is, I would say, decent to average in right field. He's getting better. And then in left field, where Tyler Soderstrom is really just kind of there for his bat. So you got a guy who can really cover all of those areas. But one thing that I have to point out about just some stats about him, he has accumulated 10 outs above average. And if you don't know what that is, that basically is a StatCast measure of plays that you can make above the average player in baseball. Pete Crow Armstrong, for an example, had 14 to start the year, and he now has 9, which means Denzel Clark has surpassed Pete Crow Armstrong in defensive runs saved, and he's passed them up in outs above average with a short amount of games. Right. That is if that's one tool, that is that is a diamond level tool. Another thing that I have to point out about his defense is not just flashy. He's not just fast. A lot of times they give black players like, oh, he's just fast. He's just athletic. He's very smart out there on the field. He's able to read line drives very well. And I'm really impressed with his play. Hopefully the bat turns around because that would make him a very, very special player for the A's.
So it's funny you mentioned that because MLB Network Radio and SiriusXM was just talking about this today. Here's somebody batting on the interstate, right? 190, but they projected if he keeps going what he's going with, his defensive WAR is going to be close to 3 when it's all said and done. And the Athletics, all their pitching rotation has been giving up the long ball. So you've got someone out there who's basically 15 feet of extra center field depth. I don't see why you can't count that. I mean, that's amazing. Now, I hope he gets to be 200. I'm hoping for the player, but if he doesn't, he's still valuable as it is right now. It's crazy.
Right. So, I mean, here's the thing. I believe the year was 1951. I believe that's Willie Mays' rookie year. Willie Mays came up with the New York Giants. Manager Leo DeRocha told him, "Hey, look, son, all I need you to do is hit 200. If you can hit 200 and play center field the way that you play center field, we're going to take care of you." Mm-hmm. My question is, because Denzel Clark is batting 190, 1 home run, 3 RBIs, OPS of 468 in 2025 Major League Baseball, because his tool is his defense, is that sustainable? If you continue to hit around, let's say 190, 200, is his defense worth? Because again, you mentioned a catcher. Back in the day, you may have seen this with a middle infielder. Mm-hmm. You might have seen it with a shortstop that's only hitting 200, but he plays shortstop. And nothing gets by with shortstop. Center field in this modern day of baseball has become a marquee position with the glove and the bat. PCA is a great example of what
Mhm.
a center fielder can do. If you're struggling, you damn well better be Julio Rodriguez, right?
Mhm.
Because and Denzel
Yeah.
Clark defensively is, but is this sustainable at 190? April, if you're looking at this every night and you realize like, geez, we get to this guy in the lineup, it's not going to be production. Maybe he can sacrifice bunt. What I mean, do you think 190 is sustainable because that's the tool we're dealing with?
I mean, my team just won a World Series with a batting 190. So, and I know y'all are gonna say, "Oh my gosh, that's not Major League."
Yeah,
But
you're talking about Michael Braswell, third baseman for LSU. It is not Major League. It is different.
I know, but I was about to give my point. What I was gonna say is players impact the game in different ways, and that was one of the issues that we had with on the Dodgers, Andy Pajes and God, I can't think of his name right now, but he's back in AAA. He struck out a lot, and so they switched them up, and
James
we've
Ottman.
seen, huh?
James Ottman.
Outman, thank you,
That's him.
Outman. We've seen this surge of Andy Pajes in center field. For a player like Denzel Clark, does he need a little bit more time? But let me tell y'all something. When that glove is elite and that it's just reliable, some things sometimes you can overlook it for a good bid or hire someone else to work with them on that. I say give him a little bit more time before
That is true.
you move that, because it's really hard to find a center fielder who gonna feel like that. And I think giving some players a little bit more grace and space to be able to grow into that aspect is necessary for them. Now, if he's struggling to the point where you can see his confidence is waning as well, then I feel like that's something where that's a piece where you step in. But for right now, I'm not making that move right now.
Cheats, to answer your question, if the Athletics of West Sacramento, Oakland, Vegas were contending, if this was the Mets, if this was the
Right.
Dodgers,
Right.
yes, you cut that guy today. But as it is right now, the Athletics have the second highest ERA, team ERA in baseball. And this person's actually giving some effort and actually is becoming a draw to a fan base who is even
Right.
showing up to games. I mean, you put him on the cover of the program. Why not? What else you got going for you right now? I mean, I ride this to the moon. And when he breaks 215, then you look like a genius.
So I mean, so because there's another player that falls into this category, and I do want to bring him up because he just got recalled back to the major leagues.
Yes.
Chandler Simpson. Chandler
Mhm.
Simpson has a speed tool. He does not have Denzel Clark's defensive tool, but he has a speed tool that makes him elite. They put him. They sent him down. Now the Tampa Bay Rays are second place as it stands right now in the AL East, 2 games behind the Yankees, and the Yankees are 3-7 in their last 10 games. The Rays could be in first place in a week or so. Are they more justified than the Athletics from sending their tool player, who, by the way, was hitting a whole lot better than 190?
Yeah, he was. He
Are
was.
they justified in the sense of what you're saying, Flobo? Because they're contending, they can't have a lapse of a player with only one tool in the lineup.
I think the Achilles heel for the Rays was their run production. So yeah, I think they are justified because the tool that championship was offered. Now, if the Rays had Denzel Clark, I'd be like, heck no, don't do that. Keep that person in the minor league system. But you got to make sure you can give that push to the All-Star breaks, because the Yankees are wobbling and they don't wobble often. So when it does, it's almost like a video game where the boss fight is, and he's flashing because he's like weak and stuff. You got to go after as far as you can. So I mean, I think they are justified for Trenton Simpson's case.
Yeah, I guess like you're saying, it's based on team need. Chandler Simpson's tool, being that of speed, is really good for the offensive side. And that's something the Rays are probably going to be looking for as they kind of make this push. And then I actually mentioned like players with that defensive tool. Some would even argue that Brian Hayes is kind of turning into that one-tool player. This is a guy that had, better defensive stats than Nolan in 1 year, and they just gave it to Nolan so he can get his full 10. Brian, I think maybe in a different environment, he might be a better hitter. We've seen flashes. But like you mentioned with Chandler Simpson, in his case, I think I do like looking at the move after a few weeks. I think it was some way justified just because of the player that was being called up from the injury, which was Jacob Mangum, who was a little bit of a better hitter than Chandler is in his career right now. But with Chandler being up and him on the same team, I think we can just hope that he's going to stay up there and the Rays are going to make a flurry of other moves that will give him the space to play a lot more.
No, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, here's the thing. Ke'Bryan Hayes right now is batting .230 with 2 home runs and 22 RBIs. Most people expected Ke'Bryan Hayes to be a better, more productive hitter than he has. Now, and again, I do think his defense is what keeps him on the field every day in and day out. But I think the expectations on Ke'Bryan Hayes is even different in regards to hitting and run production than it is for who we're talking about. I would ask you guys this. Who would you rather have on your team right now? Would you rather have Denzel Clark or would you playing center field? Would you rather have Denzel Clark or would you rather have O'Neal Cruz?
Where's my team? Is my team? Where
your
is
team
my
is
team?
in last place. Both the Athletics and the Pirates, I believe, are in last place. Is that correct?
I can answer that.
Yes, the Athletics and the Pirates are both in last place. Who would you rather have playing center field, O'Neal Cruz or Denzel Clark?
I have to go with Cruz, man. I still have to go with Cruz just because you can hope for defensive upgrades with him. Not saying that okay, he has the tools to play a very good defense in center field. Does he have them all together this year? He probably won't. He probably won't have it until maybe his third or fourth year playing full time in the outfield. But you just looking at the bat speed, looking at what he's able to do with the bat is very special. I don't even think we've seen the best of O'Neal Cruz just because of the very fact that he plays for the Pittsburgh Pirates. If he was on any other team, he'd probably be having a 900 OPS, a little bit better ball discernment at the plate. I think I'm hoping for a higher ceiling of O'Neal Cruz now, but I would have to say it is a hard choice just given how special Denzel Clark is with the glove.
Yeah, it's tough. So, I mean, look, I would rather have O'Neal Cruz. O'Neal Cruz has got 13 home runs, 30-something RBIs. And again, you don't need – look, as much as I think Denzel Clark is absolutely phenomenal in center field, and he is, you don't have to be that good. Again, you have to be good in center field, but you take a couple notches away from Denzel Clark and you give me a couple more home runs, I'm like, hey, it's a trade-off.
I never said that about my center fielder whenever he misplays. I was like, get him out of here now. Malik, am I lying?
Yeah, we have he was not a Pajes fan for a little bit.
Right, now I'm not saying – I'm just saying, look, if you gave me 35 more average points on Clark and give me one less highlight a week, I might be all right with that.
That's not how that works, man.
Right.
One less highlight. One less highlight
a week.
I'm with you though.
You're batting 240. And you're batting 240.
The roster flexibility. If it's my team, the roster flexibility of having O'Neal Cruz as DH on day 4 or 5 is worth it. It's weight in gold. But come on, man, highlight reels. MLB never gives you a highlight reel unless your name is Shohei Ohtani. He got 2. Denzel got 2.
And let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. Denzel Clark is good for the game.
Yes.
Denzel Clark is good for baseball. He's good for baseball fans. He's good for baseball fandom. He's good for the Black Baseball Mixtape. He's good for everything. So I'm not saying I know Denzel Clark wants to hit. He wants to hit. He wants to he's playing on a team there with a very young core. When you talk about Wilson and Butler and Soderstrom, and these guys are really. They put on a show, I think, offensively for the last, month now?
Yeah,
they're really turning it up.
They killed it.
Right. So it's like he wants to be in that mix. He wants to be in that future of those young core players. If they get some, they get some real solid pitching, who knows what could happen. By the way, not Oakland. I did it, Malik. Malik, you got
there you go. West Sacramento.
By the way, the Athletics broke ground in Vegas this week. So, despite everything we've heard, they might actually have a stadium in 5 years on the Vegas Strip. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm still saying it might not happen.
Is it too premature to make kind of a drawback comparison on a very special player that was kind of putrid with the bat before when they started off, or was good with the glove and eventually became good with the bat? Byron Buxton, just saying, we had high expectations of him. He was a first round. Okay, he was a first round pick. Okay, but the glove was way above the bat. And it was real bad at first. It was bad.
You get a little close to the sun there, Malik.
Hey,
a little close to the sun, Malik.
Answer the man, Keats. Answer the man.
No, this is not even close to Byron Buxton. No.
I know. I know it's a stretch.
It's a stretch.
We should give him some time with the bat.
No. Byron Buxton, and we're seeing, I would say, one of the best versions. What is he, 32? 31, 32?
Yeah.
31 now.
He's 31 now, and he has the second fastest home to first base this season, the second fastest at 31 years old. He's hitting a ton, and he plays a great. The Byron Buxton they're getting in 2025, it's hard to say because I don't know if he was facing a catastrophe. Like, is it unfair to say comeback player of the year? Like, is that like inappropriate?
No, actually, it is unfair because he was almost like, Mike Trout for a little bit. And we kind of seen.
No, I'm talking about from last year to this year. This is a guy last year that fell off how the MLB does the top 100 right now players. He wasn't even on the list.
He was still good though. He was still good with that short sample size though. I feel like he put up enough value last year from that.
Two players that I have really enjoyed in 2020, but none higher than Byron Buxton, is Byron Buxton and J.P. Crawford. Both of those guys were two players that were not on going into this season. They were not on the radar of, top 100 MLB best players right now. I guess because of injury history in the previous season. They were on it 2 years ago, fell off last year, and then you know what I mean, like. Whatever, but both JP Crawford's like up to like 296 or something average wise, and is like hitting really well. Buxton, every time I turn on a game, 2 home runs last night and a loss, 10-9 loss to the Brewers, I believe it was. But he's hitting a ton. I mean, hitting an absolute ton and playing great defense. So every time, like, those are guys that you just do not want to see come up in the lineup. And I think Buxton has a real shot. To make the All-Star game.
He should make the All-Star game.
So yeah, no, not even close to.
No, or maybe we can fall down. Maybe he can become a Kevin Kiermaier, which is he was pretty good.
That's not too bad.
He was pretty good with the bat. So how about we take it down?
I can roll with the KK.
KK was good, man.
And so, just to put a button on this conversation, because again,
I'm
saying Major League Baseball in 2025. I don't think is very supportive. Maybe a catcher, but they're not very supportive of one tool. You've got to have multiple tools, to be out there. And I think they put that hitting for power tool way above defense. Look at like some of those players you see in left and right field. They don't. You want to talk about not knowing how to field.
Yeah, that is true.
Some of those left and right fielders do not know how to.
I ain't gonna say no names.
Some of those look. Keybron
Hayes. Say names, please. that Aaron Judge guy's a hack. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Keybron Hayes is special because some of those third basemen too. They just stick him over there. Just
stop the ball.
So yeah, I just don't know. I mean, look, I am a fan of Clark. I love what he's doing. I will have to start. I'm a huge fan of Simpson. And I think that he has showed that he can hit for average. He can run like the wind. He's getting better. There was some defensive challenges there when he was in the outfield as well. He's been an infielder the whole, most of his career. They moved him to the outfield, so there's an adjustment period there. But yeah, man, it's a real thing, and it's interesting to see. Well. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen,
left field is hard too. My bad, but left field is really hard.
We are coming up on a little bit past the hour here. Very, very fun podcast. A lot to talk about. We still didn't hit nearly as much as we could. Is there anything that you guys are really looking forward to this week in baseball as we kind of move into I want to say some really interesting games coming up.
Well, I mentioned it at the top of the show. I'm going to see park number 27 for me, PNC, lovely Pittsburgh Pirates. Taking on the skidding Mets, who just lost again today to the Braves. And so I want to see up close. I heard it's one of the best looking parks in baseball, but I want to see this function up close, y'all. That's my goal this weekend.
Okay.
There you go.
This will be live. Hopefully I can make it out to Wrigley. I'm going out to Chicago in a week, so maybe there may be some tickets left on the resale market. So I'm trying to get up in there.
PC8?
I would say tomorrow night, man, or tonight if you're listening to this the next day on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe to the podcast. I would say Tuesday night, the debut of number 2 and our Black Baseball Mixtape pitcher power rankings. Chase Burns is making his major league debut against the Yankees at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati. That is, for me, must-see TV. I am just locked down and ready to watch that and see how
He qualifies. Yep.
I think so. I watched a lot of baseball over the last weekend. I was watching multiple games. The College World Series was on, the Phillies and the Mets were happening, the Yankees and the Orioles were happening, the Nats were on the West Coast I was watching all of it. So I've seen a lot of baseball, but I am very excited to see Chase Burns take the hill and see what's going to happen there.
I, of course, am excited about some more AUSL games, but this Braves-Phillies matchup this weekend, because I know y'all think, oh my gosh, the Braves are on a run. No, they're not. And I want to be right about this. So
Me too. Be right about this.
I just want to be right about them. That's all. So,
but are you saying
the Mets today? I just want to be right about
that. No. I'm just trying to understand for clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to say that you hope they're not on a run, or are you saying they're not?
No, I'm saying I hope that they lose.
Okay, because I was gonna say the Braves are 7-10 in their last 10 games. And it's starting to look a little.
That don't mean nothing. We're fine.
They lost to the Marlins, literally, right? Didn't they?
Yeah, they lost to
They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. They did lose to the Marlins yesterday, but there is talk. I mentioned this on Finish Your Breakfast. There should be talk now about that Drake Baldwin creeping into NL Rookie of the Year conversations.
That's true.
That Drake Baldwin was not. What's that?
I like him. I just don't like the team.
Right,
he's cool. Your crew sucks.
But Drake Baldwin was not in those conversations up until about last week. But now Drake Baldwin's hitting 293, 8 home runs, 25 RBIs, 834 OPS. And they're starting to put him 5, 6 on that list of, hey, who do you think is going to win the NL Rookie of the Year? Could it be Drake Baldwin, who technically was supposed to be just a fill-in, right, at the beginning of the season?
Right. Yeah. He's out doing the projections, and he's actually been a lot of his outcomes are informed by just how hard he hits the ball consistently, doesn't strike out a lot. They got them a special player on their hands.
Yeah, really like him, but I gotta put the juju out there.
I like the juju. It's fine. Start losing tomorrow, Atlanta, please.
So, all right. Here's the question: the Braves are 36-41. They're 10.5 games out of the NL East. And again, like we said, they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. So remember that 36-41 winning percentage of .468. The Baltimore Orioles are 34. Listen to me. Listen to me.
We got to, yeah, but
they are 34-44 winning percentage .436. They're 11 games out of the AL East. The Orioles are 6-4 and also winning today, so they're going to be 7-3 in their last 10 games. Who do you think has more potential moving forward, the Orioles or the Braves?
I mean, like this season?
This season. This
season I don't even know what potential for moving forward means in this context, but both of them need to stop.
Who's going to finish with a better record, the Orioles or the Braves?
Oh, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It'd be
That. Yeah,
it'd be
that's.
the Braves but the NL East is a stronger division. I would say, or I would say a more even division, besides the Marlins.
Yeah, I have more hope in the Braves beating up on their division than the Orioles pulling off in theirs, mostly because of the rotation, and we know that the Orioles aren't going to really do much to improve it this season. I'm not confident in it. Got to give it to the Bravos on that one.
I think they might. I mean, I'm not happy about it, but
We know.
You think I like giving Braves credit? I mean, come on.
But at the same time, y'all know I'm praying for the Red Sox downfall. So
I mean, they do that themselves. They
Exactly.
they don't need
your
any
help.
prayers. They don't need any prayers.
I'm like, maybe the Orioles can pull it off and punch them out. But yeah, I think the Braves might edge out a little bit.
So I'm hearing you're all on the Braves, huh?
Not really. Listen,
this show's over.
It hurt me to say that.
Flobo, this show is over. This show is over.
Do you see my face? Do you see how much it hurt me to say that?
All on the Braves, eh? Everybody's talking about the 32 and 46 Washington Nationals.
Yeah.
Black Nats?
Black Nats.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have to call it there.
That was definitely.
We're gonna have to end this show. As always, please, if you enjoy this show, rate and review it. Again, Apple Podcasts, you can subscribe there. Spotify Podcasts, you can subscribe there. Please rate and review the show. We really appreciate all of your support. Tell a friend about the Black Baseball Mixtape, especially on Instagram, as we are growing expeditiously. Is that a word? T.I. style. We are growing very fast. We're growing very fast, and we really appreciate everything. So we want to give a shout out to our partners. One last time, Steelers Sports, the Players Alliance, Numbers Game Scorecards, Rebellion Harvest Sunflower Seeds, Red, Black, and Green Baseball, and Minority Prospects. Want to thank all of you, and Malik, April, Flobo, thank you. Make sure you read Flobo's article. New podcast coming, 10th Inning Talk in the booth, Flobo Boys. Amen.